Alright guys, this is going to be a little bit of a rambling video, but I want to talk about Bill O'Reilly and some recent, what I feel are stupid comments that he made. Now, when I do a video like this where I kind of call out somebody who, more or less, politically speaking, is on our side. By our side, I mean people who are more or less conservative, more freedom and liberty minded, people who are pro-gun, that kind of thing. I get a lot of flack for it because people go, why are you bothering them? There's so much to worry about on the other side. Look at all the anti-gunners over there. Well, look, we spend a lot of time talking about them, but we have to be able to keep our own side in check. We have to be able to call out our own side when they say something stupid or do something stupid, especially somebody like Bill O'Reilly, who even though he's not on Fox News anymore, he is still looked at, especially by the left and the anti-gunners, as this kind of conservative icon, even though he's really not. He's more or less kind of a moderate progressive more than anything else, with some conservative ideas, some pro-constitutional ideas, but by and large he's a moderate, he's a progressive. But he's still looked at that way, right? Like people on The View see him say something, go, well, Bill O'Reilly said this, or, you know, Jimmy Kimmel will say, well, Bill O'Reilly said this, and that's why we have to keep these people in check, because unfortunately, in the public eye, they kind of speak for us. Now, personally, he doesn't speak for me in a lot of what he says, but people just assume that he does, and that's how public sentiment is swayed. And so we got to talk about it. So basically what happened, to kind of get to the point of the video, is he was making a video in response to the shooting, school shooting in Florida. And he put this video up, it's on Facebook, it's on his website, it was part of his podcast, it's probably up on YouTube as well. Now he's got his own little Bill O'Reilly media company going on since he's no longer at Fox. And he basically said, look, there are 4 things we need to do to stop these school shootings from happening. Now, fortunately, and to his credit, not one of those things had anything to do with banning any guns or anything like that, or assault weapons bans or capacity bans or anything like that. So that's good, at least, right? But the 4 things he said are, in this order: 1, that we need more armed guards on campus. Now that I absolutely agree with. Look, we are basically forced as parents by the state to put our kids in this school in a vulnerable situation where no guns are allowed, right? It's a no-gun zone. It's a gun-free zone. And we've seen how well that works, right? Because a lot of us just don't have the time. We don't have the ability to homeschool our kids. So if we don't put them in school, we go to jail and have our kids taken away from us. So we're forced to put our kids in this facility, this government facility. Yes, they should be guarded. They are our most precious thing in our lives as parents. Yes, please guard our kids. And he said, you know, you have plenty of guards, not just one guy with a gun. Have several of them, enough to guard all the entrances to a school to protect your kids. And that, Mr. O'Reilly, I absolutely 100% agree with. In fact, I would take it a step further and say that, you know, we need to actually let our teachers conceal carry. If they have the ability and the right, if they've gone through the training, they've gone through, you know, whatever requirements that the state requires them to be able to carry a gun, they should be able to carry in class to protect the kids in their class. So we absolutely agree on that first one. And that's the only one we agree with. Because next up, he says, we need to create a watch list of people who have done suspicious things. We need to create a watch list of kids that get expelled from school. And they need to be put on this watch list with no due process, right? And they haven't been convicted or accused of anything, right? They're just put on a watch list, and with no due process, they have their gun rights taken away. Now, come on. This is so unconstitutional. It's the reason why we went after Obama with the no-fly, no-buy thing, okay? This is unconstitutional at its finest. You're basically saying that anybody, the state maybe it's your local municipality, who knows, who's in charge of these lists on a local level, right? On a state level, right? Anybody can come in and say, well, this person got expelled for school for a fist fight. I'm putting him on a no-gun list. Who makes that determination? Has he been convicted of anything that would have his gun rights taken away naturally? No. Therefore, this is unconstitutional. Watch lists, the idea of being put on a list that bars you from some of your natural-born rights with no due process, this idea that's been floating around in liberal circles for a long time is absolutely 100% unconstitutional. Bill O'Reilly, you are absolutely dead wrong on this one. Then we get to the third thing he said. Basically, if you're not 21, you can't buy a gun. Now look, Bill, please, I want you to think back to when you were about 61, 62, okay? When you first were right there on the cusp of getting Social Security insurance, right? This would have been back in the 1960s. I want you to remember back before 1968 when anybody, any kid, 16-year-old, could roll into a Montgomery Ward, huh, or Sears or wherever and pick up a shotgun and pick up a rifle. Okay? We didn't have school shootings back then, okay? It's not about the age. Age has nothing to do with it. And what is the real difference, okay, if somebody is mentally disturbed between being 18 and being 21? Do you think that they're not going to be mentally disturbed anymore when they're 21 and that's a guarantee? Or maybe you just think there's no way they would ever try and go get another gun or try to find a way to do damage if they are that mentally disturbed. Again, this is absolutely stupid, okay? They're old enough to go to war, but they can't buy a rifle, okay? It's a ridiculous thing that you're proposing there. Age has nothing to do with it. The past has proven that, okay? It's a societal change that is causing these problems. It's a mental illness problem that we have in this country. It has nothing to do with age, and this, what you're proposing with the law being changed, would do absolutely nothing across the board. It would do nothing, and you saying things like this, it just puts us in a bad light as gun owners, as people who are pro-gun, okay? Now for the fourth thing that he said. Basically, he said that law enforcement officers should have the power to forcibly interview people if they deem them to be suspicious. If they deem them to be, and I quote, a possible danger to the neighborhood. So I guess we don't have enough problems with cops overstepping their bounds and delving into unconstitutional territory when it comes to detaining people. Now, if your neighbor doesn't like what you're doing, a cop should be able to forcibly detain you and interview you to determine whether or not you're a threat. As if the average cop can determine that. Look, here's the thing. Bill, may I call you Bill? I know you're not really pro-gun. I know you're not really conservative. You pretend that you are. You held up Fox News for, what, 20 years or something? But you're not. And when you make stupid statements like this, you hurt the people who truly are. And maybe that's your point, I don't know, but I don't think it is. I don't think you want to hurt people who are pro-gun or conservative. So please, Bill, just shut up.